Guys, my name's Anthony Edge from Edge Academy here in San Diego. Obviously we're doing our 7th haircut. We've been doing 7 haircuts in 14 days. So now we're going into like that kind of more of a mid-length kind of precision haircut. So we're going to share with you the look what we're going to be working on. We're going to be working on a haircut which is really popular on our hands-on cutting classes last year. Last year we launched a collection called New. It's all about gender neutral and non-binary, and we came up with this kind of offset kind of bob. So it's got graduation in the nape, going square on one side and then longer on the opposite side. So working with like a bit more of an offset feeling. Very precise, very clean outline. So some of the haircuts you've seen prior to this has been about point cutting and texture. And then all of a sudden we're going to the opposite. Okay, so we're going to crack on with that. We've done the sectioning pattern. I think the hardest thing personally about this haircut is the sectioning pattern. Okay, because it's working with an offset feeling, it's really designed for somebody who wears a natural parting. So if they wear it on a side, decide on your client likes which way she wears it. So in this case, the client wears it on the left hand side, going over to the right. Okay, so that means the parting is going to be higher. All right, so whatever the parting is, the natural parting, you're going to literally place your horseshoe section higher on that side and then lower on the opposite side. So before we started, we literally did a consultation. This is a great haircut for somebody who's got a bob or a lob, and they've got like a bob, and they just want to make it a bit funkier. So we're going to introduce some layering. We're going to introduce an offset feeling and then some nice shape through the back with graduation. All right, so it's just a nice little refresher for somebody who's got like a classic kind of bob and just wants something new. Okay, so let's take you through the side. So if you can see this side, this is the higher side. So literally we've worked in a horseshoe section. So a high recession, just literally going horizontal across the head shape. Okay, and then when you come into the back area, you start to see it dipping down. So it dips down below the crown. You've got to make sure you go below the crown, because some people might have a double crown, they might have a whirl, they might have some movement around here. So try not to split right through. Literally follow around the curve of the head. Make sure you go underneath the crown, and then you go in literally on a slight diagonal towards the middle of the recession area. Okay, so you've got high and low. All right, how steep you go on this side is depending on how steep you want your bob to be. So if you want it to be slightly asymmetric, do you want it to be more square, or do you want it to be going longer? So as you can see, that kind of sectioning pattern there is going to determine the outer edge. So it's just slightly going longer on this side, and when you go spin it back round, then you're going to literally be going more on a square kind of shape here. So very 1920s, all right, this kind of idea. So in a way, for me, this is like kind of doing 2 haircuts in one. Because if you've got a client who says, well, I just want a 1920s bob, you just do both sides like this. And then if you've got a client who says, I like it going longer towards the face, then you do both sides like this side. All right, but what we've done, we've given it a bit of a twist. So we're working with that offset feeling. All right, so if you can see straight on, one's higher, one's lower, clip the top out the way. And then the nape area is also offset. So if you look at this nape area now, this is a little bit offset. All right, so you've got one side square and one side diagonal. So the square side is literally working from the occipital bone towards the top of the ear, so just above the O bone, I would say. And then literally just then go from above the O bone, diagonal to the middle of the ear. So what you've got is basically like that, okay? And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go 1 section, 2, 3, and that's the end of the haircut. All right, so we've mapped out, made it nice and clean. It's a precision haircut, precise, clean, and cut above the shoulders. That's what precision means. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to literally work putting the head slightly forward. Okay, so I'll put the head slightly forward, all right, to work this graduation. I'm going to comb down. What am I going to do? I'm going to probably go this side, so better light in and get in the corner there for Gloria, so it'll be better. I'm going to literally just split that in half and then push that side away. I don't want it, okay? So just clip that, you can push that out of the way, and then I'm going to work the shorter side first, okay? So I'm going to work like the side which is horizontal first. I'm going to work horizontal sections, okay, in the nape. Just a little horizontal line, sectioning with the large teeth of the comb, And then I'm literally going to comb the hair now away with the fine teeth. This hair, which is long, I'm going to clip it out the way. So if you get a little clip like that, and then you can literally just working within the nape area. Okay, so I'm going to literally comb from underneath. It's a graduation, okay? So graduation is a build-up of weight, okay? So I'm going to graduate now. So I'm going to comb from underneath, and then I'm going to, that's probably better for Gloria now. So comb from underneath, keep my fingers nice and flat, keep my wrist flat. I'm using the smaller scissors from Edge. So these are the 6.25s from Edge. Just using the smaller ones, a little bit more detail. And then as you can see, nice and blunt all the way through. So I'll just comb in from underneath, nice blunt line all the way through. And then just take that clip out. And then, like I say, section with the large. Comb from underneath with the fine. And then clip out the way. Get the fine teeth, comb from underneath. So you're combing, getting your guideline from underneath. Alright, so you comb from underneath. See the guideline, nice and clear. And then literally working a nice, clean, blunt line. Okay, so graduation. Nice and clean. I'm working parallel to the parting. So my distribution, the way I'm combing the hair, is perpendicular or T to the parting, or parallel to the parting, whatever you prefer to say. Depends on wherever you've been trained and follow. Different brands have different terminology. So then you comb from underneath, yeah, to create a 45-degree elevation. So my elevation is 45 degrees, okay. My fingers are parallel to the parting, so I'm cutting it parallel. Okay. And then you can see just a nice, clean, simple line all the way through. And then my last section, when I just get to the top, my last section here then, I don't want to go too high, because if you go too high, you don't realise you're going into layering. Okay, so look, if I comb from underneath and then start to bring this on the base, that's more layering then, that's more at 90, not 45. So I want to drop my elevation, so it's coming down to a stationary guide. So what I'm going to do is going to comb from underneath to get my guide. Don't worry, because all this hair doesn't reach, so you're only basically getting the previous section as your guide. And then you literally comb down just to lower the elevation, so my elevation doesn't go too high. Because what I want is my weight line, or my graduation, should be sitting under the occipital bone. I want it to complement the head shape. Alright, and then you just literally comb that down, and then you can start to see where that length is falling. So you can see where that length is falling, and then once it starts to dry, you'll start to see the shape even nicer. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly just check through, just to make sure I'm 100% happy. Alright, I'm happy with that. Alright, so now I'm going to go on to the opposite side. Okay, so you've done one side. Distribution, the way I comb it is parallel to the parting. I'm cutting it parallel to the parting, and then it's 45 degrees down to a stationary 45, the last section, just to build up a bit more weight. Okay, so I'm going to now go on to the opposite side. Okay, and this side now is going to be slightly diagonal sections. Okay, so what's going to happen now is my sectioning pattern is a little bit different. So it's slightly diagonal. Okay, large teeth for the comb, you section with, and then just clip out with the fine teeth. And then we'll just grab that bit and then clip it out the way. And then I'm going to get the guideline from the middle. So comb from underneath. There's my guideline in the middle, so you can see the guide, what I've previously done on the opposite side. And then what I do, I just feel like in a way I'm over-directing the hair a little bit on this side. So I'm just literally leaving it a little bit longer. So in a way, it's not so horizontal or square. You know, some of you call it square graduation. You know, it's a graduated bob. Some of you call it like a square grad. Yeah. So this side is not going to be square because we're over directing, so it's going a little bit longer. So you're maintaining a little bit more weight just behind the ear because we want to go longer on one side. Okay, so it's working with that offset feeling. So your sectioning, what I'm really trying to get across on this haircut is your sectioning pattern creates the haircut. Because literally I'm working parallel to the parting. So I'm working horizontal through one side and I'm working diagonal through the opposite side. If I work my fingers parallel to that parting, I'm going to create that shape. So I'm combing from underneath. See the guideline? I've got a guideline on the opposite side, but then also I've got a guideline underneath. Okay? So I've got two ways I can see it. And then literally just keep you making sure that you're keeping that wrist nice and flat, okay, nice clean line. This is a precision haircut, so it's all about precision, precise, clean, okay. Some of you might, you wanted to point cut this and create more of a textured look, you're more than welcome to, but this is all about keeping it nice and clean. And then you can see the last section there, we're just bringing it down to a stationary 45 degrees of elevation, so lower elevation, combing that down, and then literally just working that nice and clean. So you're working that offset feeling straight away on your first section. Okay. I'll check all that through. Really happy with that. And you can start to see that straight away, when the hair's starting to move around a little bit, you can start to see you've got a nice little graduation through this side. It's just, once it starts to dry naturally, you'll start to see that beautiful shape, and then you start to see it square going into that little bit longer. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go and introduce our second section. Okay, so literally now the second section, we'll literally work through. We're going to keep this side clipped up. I like to keep it as clean as possible. So what we'll do is we'll just work on the shorter side first, and then we'll go on to the longer side. Alright, so what we're going to do now, we're going to literally work like a little horseshoe section. So we're going to introduce the sides. So large teeth of the comb, you're going to literally just work a little horseshoe, so it's square all the way through the sides. We don't want the sides to be going down in any way. So where Gloria's filming is probably better than where I'm standing, so I just have to step away a little bit then. Just to make sure that it is horizontal. And then grab that little hair and then just twist that out of the way. This is where I want to make sure that the head is upright. The head can go over to one side if you wish, but you've got to make sure that the chin is up. Because if the model's head was too far forward and I cut it square, by the time I lifted it up, I've worked on a rounded shape and I've taken it too short through the sides. So the head can be slightly over to one side, but you really want to make sure that the chin is up. Okay, alright, so I'm going to go into the back area first. Alright, and then combing this down to its natural fall. My fingers are going to be parallel to the parting, so it's literally working parallel. My elevation is a stationary 45 degrees, so it's coming down into a stationary 45. I'm going to use the larger teeth now. So if you've noticed now, I'm using the larger teeth, and why I've done that is because there's a lot more movement around that crown area, and it just comes down to personal taste really. Just going to literally just leave it a little bit heavy and a little bit looser through there. Alright, so just combing that down, larger teeth, natural fall, like so, and then I'm going to step round the head, make sure the head is upright position. Comb down to its natural fall, and then maybe pat over the ear for some elevation if you've got a bit of a jump, ears elevate, and then work that nice and square. So on the sides it's like a 1 finger's depth of elevation, so my fingers are touching the plastic. Okay, so I'm working like on a more of a 1920s square kind of bob all the way through. Okay, and then we'll do another little horseshoe, split that through, and then if you were working this like on maybe a thicker hair type, I've got a client who said, look, I want a graduation but it's thicker hair or curly hair, then when I come to these sections, when I come to above the, when I'm working in within the horseshoe section here, what you would have done instead on thicker hair, you could have slightly disconnected this. So you could have disconnected it by 1 inch and had like a little veil falling over, so the graduation would have been an undercut, and then you would have had this falling over just ever so slightly. So these are like little tricks that you could do if you're working with thicker density of hair or a curly hair type, because what we're doing here is we're combing everything down to a stationary guideline, and the hair is building up weight, and that's what graduation is a build up of weight. So it's getting heavier and heavier, but so if I was working on someone with really thick hair, this could be a little bit too heavy. So it's more ideal if the hair type is thicker, just to slightly disconnect. In this case, just combing it all down to its natural fall, 1 finger's depth, square, all the way through, and then combing that down. So I'll go back to the back. So coming down to natural form. See the guideline, nice and clear. And then just before you go onto that side, make sure that head positioning is upright. Okay, that chin is up. And then look, coming down to natural fall on the side. You can pat over the ear if you wish to elevate to tension. Just keeping it. So look, the trick is here is keeping this side square. It's very 20s, so 1920s kind of square, kind of bob all the way through. Loving what we've got going on. Okay, that's one side completed. So now we're going to go on to the opposite side. Okay, so we're working on diagonals now. Because I feel like if you did alternate and you went square, long, short to long, square, short to long, it can be a little bit harder to do. So I feel like it's really good to master one side and then literally now go into the opposite side now. So we're going to go diagonals. Okay, so just literally diagonals. Hold that down, get that out of the way. Get that out of the way like so. Okay, and then exactly the same kind of idea. Large T for the comb, natural fall. Okay, so natural fall, going down into that kind of stationary guideline, which is shorter to longer. Just diagonal. So working literally from the centre of the head. So if I can just flip that out of the way and then show you. So literally going from like the centre there, and it goes top of the ear. Okay, and then you just literally combing the hair down to a natural fall, stationary 45. And then you go into your front section now. Okay. Dropping that down. So the guide, nice and clear. Stepping round. And then how long you leave it on this side, again, it comes down to the suitability of your client. Yeah, if someone's got like a round face and they want a really short bob, you don't, sometimes for suitability it can't go too short. So this would be an ideal haircut to do for someone who's got like rounded features, because if you did both sides short, then no, but this side's going to complement it because it's going longer. All right, so something like an offset shape would be pretty nice if someone's got rounded features and stuff like that. If they've got like a long face shape, and one side shorter and one side longer is kind of nice as well. So it all comes down to customization and how asymmetric you want it. So look, when I bring that down, you can see one side shorter, one side longer. If you wanted to go really asymmetric and have it one side really long, you could do that. All comes down to your client's needs and likes. I don't want it too asymmetric. I don't want it to be like too dated. All right. Personally, I feel like if it's slightly offset, makes it look a little bit more modern. So I'm just going to take a fraction more out of that. But that's just my personal opinion, so some of you might like it when it's really having that asymmetric feeling to it. Just making sure the head is stable. Pretty much happy with that. Right, so what you do now, before you continue into the final section, all right, we're going to look at that hairline, and I left it because I wanted it to dry naturally on the mannequin, all right, but that's why I didn't cut it straight away, because I knew it was going to be too wet for me to cut. But the hairline here now, you can cut away, But this is where you would like, you know, on a real client, I would cut this more freehand, because some people might have a hair growth pattern what might go into the middle, they might have a whirl, they might have like little movements here. So if it jumps up or anything on a real client, then I would literally just go in like this on dry hair and just detail the perimeter, very visual like so. Alright, and I also get the client to like move ahead like that and then see how it sits in the actual hairline. Because if I put my fingers onto the skin and then I start cutting it, it could bounce up, alright, and I get a really uneven hairline. Alright, so I'm going to go back into that kind of shorter side. If you've got any graduation or anything, or you want to knock off anything, you literally just go through. You can even use your comb, because it's a dolly head, and probably need to just grab it a little bit. Alright, it's not going to sit and stick on a plastic neck. You know, I might just need to put a bit of tension on it with my comb. But in a real scenario, I would just literally just comb that down, let it stick to a client's neck and then cut it more freehand. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Everyone has different ways of doing the hairline. And then we'll go on to the opposite side. And we'll just literally just eliminate whatever's necessary within that hairline. Keeping it nice and soft. You're thinking about the haircut, what's it going to look like in 2 weeks' time? This haircut is a real good money maker. Why? Because the client has to maintain it. A precision haircut above the shoulders with graduation, it's great, it's beautiful. When it's been done, it's fresh, it looks exciting, looks beautiful. But then 6 to 8 weeks, that client's ready to come back and get it redone. Yeah. So if you do short hair or precision hair or bops, you know, it's kind of nice for your clients, for your back pocket as well. You know, it's nice. People always say to me, what's your favourite haircuts? Is it short, long? You know, do you like to do different textures? And I'm like, I like everything. But if you're working behind the salon, behind the chair, and you really specialise in cutting, then, you know, obviously for a hairdresser, you need to have more clients if you do a lot of long haircuts. And if you do a lot of short haircuts, you don't need as many on your books. Alright, so I move that around and you can start to see that little offset feeling. Alright, so the final part of the haircut now, okay, is just literally working with the layers, okay? So we're just going to work with the layering pattern, okay? So I'm just going to get a clip and just clip all that underneath out the way because it's completely disconnected. So if you want to, you could just put a little clip there just to be a safety barrier. Alright, I think I've got an extra one, alright? So all underneath is just, as you can see, just clipped out the way. And then this is going to be disconnected, okay? And we're going to work with an offset layer, okay? So an offset layer, I'm just literally working shorter on one side. So we're going to pick out the short side. So the shortest side we're picking out. We're going to cut that shorter, right? And how short do you take it? You'll have a look and see where it's going to fall. Because look, if I don't cut anything off it, it's longer than the outer edge. So I need to layer it, okay? So I'm going to layer at least below that clip. Alright, so it's going to be layered all the way through. Okay, so I'm going to cut it square. So a point cut through, square, and then we'll have a look and see how it falls. Alright, so you do the first section on the base, so it's all on the base. Just point cutting through, all square. And then let that drop down and see where it falls. And you can see like where that falls. And I said just underneath the clip, really nice complemented. I'm going to change my scissors. I'm going to go into the large 7s for edge because I'm going to create a bit more texture through the top. So when I point cut through, I just want to give a little bit more choppiness to it. Alright, so I'm just going to go choppy all the way through. Choppy all the way through. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just going to over direct all the hair to this stationary guideline. Alright, so I'm just literally standing on the opposite side, so standing on the side which is the shortest side, and I'm going to over direct. So the first section's on the base, and all the rest of the hair now is coming to this stationary guideline. So it's coming to the stationary guideline, so you can see all the hair now is layering. If you've got a client that says, I don't want any layers, I like it really flat, and I don't want any texture in there, And what you would have done, you would have just basically combed all the rest of the hair down to its natural fall and connected it into the hairline. Okay, so if you had the client and said, look, I don't want to have layers, I don't want any texture, then you would have just literally just combed the hair down to its natural fall and then just literally working that through. Alright, but in this case, just layering it through, near enough finished now, just over directing all the rest of the hair over to one side. So you can see, so making sure that you're combing within that third and final section. So you're keeping your sections nice and clean. Cleaner sections, cleaner haircut. Okay. Point cut for a little bit of texture. You know, the whole haircut's been blunt and precise. And then it's just going to give it a little bit more shattered through that top area. So what I wanted to do when we created this look last year for our collection, we just wanted it to be a bit more salon friendly and a little bit more lived in. Okay, so instead of being just like a bob where it just sits flat on the head, we just wanted to have a bit more fun with it. So introducing that little bit more of a shattered offset layer, it's kind of nice. So just pulling all that over directing. And you've got to keep an eye on your posture, you know, like making sure that my body position is over to one side, but also your client's head is not over to one side. And then if you want to cross check, you're more than welcome to go through and cross check horizontally. And then what you will do when you cross check horizontally, you will see it's shorter to longer. Okay, so you can see that's all just little bits there, but that's shorter to longer. Okay, so it's literally just bringing that out, and you can see perfect, short to long, short to long, and short to long. So that's another way you could even cut it as well, if you prefer to cut it that way. All right, and then what you'll do now is you just literally just grab the rest of the hair and you just take it all out. So what that means is you'll get those clips, what you just clipped out through the underneath, you clip them out the way, and then you'll just literally just comb everything down to its natural fall. So let's just brush it off the face. And then you just comb it all down to a natural fall, and then see if anything reaches the outline, which I feel like this side is going to be a little bit longer. So what I'll do, I'll just go back to my smaller blades, just to make sure I get it all nice and clean. I'll just comb down to natural fall, nothing reaches because it's layered. So look, if I comb that down now, you can see like nothing reaches. It's nice, clean, strong hairline. And then combing down, and then this side, as you can see, there's some overhang from the over direction of your layer. So what you do, just literally just comb it down to its natural fall, and anything what just falls over, you just literally just trim that up. So down to its natural fall, and then just eliminating any kind of little bit of hair what falls over there. Okay. So that is kind of like maintaining that kind of offset feeling. Okay. And then last and final bit is your fringe, and I think you can see that straight away. The fringe is going from shorter to longer. So we'll just maintain that kind of short to long kind of feeling in there. Just knock off that little corner. So you've got that little offset kind of asymmetric fringe where you're just dusting over. And that is the final bit of the haircut really. Alright, so literally just working with a little graduation, working one side square, one side short to long. Okay, so you know, obviously you could dry this now with a Denman or a cushion brush, get it nice and smooth and polished off. Alright, so just to give you a recap, you can see there, it's just one side square. Okay, so you just literally work one side square, nice little graduation. The opposite side is short to long. And then literally working with that offset kind of layer. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Check out some more videos on our social media and YouTube. Thank you very much.